everyone. Thank you for joining Talking with EDU Thompson. One of my favorite quotes is, "Often the biggest barrier to innovation is our own way of thinking," by George Couros. I'm passionate about reimagining education, and one way I believe we can make that happen as educators is through innovative instructional practices that engage and support all students. I'm here today with 3 assistant superintendents from 3 different states that are incorporating innovative practices in their district. Let's hear from them about what they are doing.
Some of the innovative instructional practices in Catawba County Schools, North Carolina, center around personalized learning. I would say that that's our main innovative instructional strategy we're using at this point in time. It's been a great tool for us during COVID times as well, but we did start the initiative, I would say, about 2.5, 3 years ago. We began the conversation centered around personalized learning. We did some partnering with Ed Elements to begin the process of learning about personalized learning, and are using still today a cohort model for helping our teachers gain information about personalized learning and begin to implement in the classrooms. And it worked really well before COVID times, and now that we are in remote learning more, personalized learning teachers seem to be adjusting really well to the situation, and their students as well. They are adjusting and able to continue learning in a very organized manner, I would say. We have a huge partnership that we're lucky to have with what is called K64. And to give you a little idea, K64 is an education and economic development initiative that was born in our county through partnerships with first our local community college called Catawba Valley Community College, along with our county commissioners, and then our K-12 local public school systems in our area. And it's been a huge partnership for us. A couple of things about that. K64 is based on 6 pillars that they focus on, and 3 of those have tremendously helped us out in this personalized learning environment. And those center around a commitment to the one-to-world technology, which has been extremely helpful, a tech-savvy educators with money for professional development and good programs and tools to use. And then a third, character development. So we had a huge focus on SEL practices and types of programs to help our students to continue to develop in those areas. So that was a huge focus for us. And then again, the funds so that we could kick off the initiative with Ed Elements and learn a lot about personalized learning ourselves to move that along. Second to that, we are in year 4 of our own K-12 virtual academy that we have as part of our K-12 school system. And that program has grown. It's called Online Catawba. And we started with high school students in grades 9, 12. And then, of course, with our state mandate for allowing all students to have the option of remote learning, within a week, we turned that virtual academy into a K-12 virtual academy. And we have focused most of our funding this year towards that virtual academy, and it is very successful. Currently in the academy, we have around 3,500 students taking advantage of that academy. About 25% of our population is all virtual at this point in time. So we offer 42 of our own courses in that virtual academy. We have built those courses through the Canvas LMS platform and are continuing to grow that. We also take advantage of other online curriculum platforms as well to fill in the gaps for what we cannot offer. So that academy has been great, and I'll tell you, great for our students, but as a professional development opportunity for our teachers who are now teaching in that academy, the growth has been amazing. The last thing that I'll mention that I think is pretty innovative. It sounds ordinary, but in these times of COVID and remote learning, we have had a major focus on connecting with students and parents, like a lot of folks have. But we have put in place a parental program for our English as second language students, for the students and the parents, that they have access to teachers throughout the week in the evenings through parent nights and those types of things that are offered throughout our district for major help in all types of technology, how to navigate the LMS, and then how to connect with teachers in a better way. We noticed a lot of issues with connecting with those students and parents, and this has seemed to really help us turn the corner for communication and helping these students become successful in a remote environment.
Innovative practices that we're doing here at Greenwood School District 52 and Greenwood, South Carolina is, we're kind of new to this. So our teachers just received devices. Our students just received devices. So we just were one-to-one in January, and then the pandemic hit. So there was not a lot of professional development for our teachers on how to deliver blended classrooms and blended learning models. So that was our focus for this year, is to make sure they have the tools and the resources, anything that can put technology in the classroom and make the classrooms more innovative in 21st century. That was our focus, really focused on using data to drive instruction, using differentiation of instruction, small group instruction, because the biggest that teachers are really concerned about is I don't have enough time to remediate. I don't have time to differentiate. I don't have time to tutor. Having your classroom set up in a blended learning environment, training the teachers that they can make time for that remediation, they can make time for that differentiation, and they're using data to, form their groups and using target instruction so those students get the remediation strategies that they need. So we're still learning, we're still growing. And like you said, the virtual academy is something that we are very interested in the near future, because I feel like every school district from here on out, moving forward through our educational journey, has to offer some form of virtual platform to all of our students.
And Paul, that's a great segue into my innovative instructional practice. I work in Little Rock School District. The unique thing about the academy model that we are implementing is in all the 4 major school districts here in Central Arkansas. And so the overall project is called the Academies of Central Arkansas. So each high school in the 4 Central Arkansas districts will have a focus, 1 to 2 to maybe 3 academy focus areas. And we feel that this is going to definitely be a game changer for our young people, because it will not only give them the skill set, the experience, the internships, and the knowledge on all of the availability or options that they have in front of them, but it gives them an opportunity to establish a plan for life after high school, after their 12th grade year. And we start that with a 9th grade academy. So all of our students are enrolled in a freshman academy, and they learn about different parts, the different academies in all the high schools. And then after their 9th grade year, they then decide which academy they're interested in, and then they can choose from there. And that's one of the lessons learned that we had or gained during this pandemic, was how many of our students really flourished in the virtual academy space. And we wanted to continue to provide that opportunity for them. But also it gives us the opportunity to really focus in all the interest areas that our students have throughout this school district, with the partnership of major businesses throughout the city. Our Chamber of Commerce actually partnered with all of the school districts to provide these academies across the Central Arkansas area. In addition to that, we've partnered with our city of Little Rock city government to establish community schools, which is going to be another game changer, because we all hear about educational equity, and the importance of it. Community schools really focus on that equity part of making sure we provide the necessary resources, the supports for those individual students in that community of that school. And so we're fortunate to be able to provide that support and to have that community involvement, because we know that based on research and based on the data, when the community is heavily involved in the instructional setting, students flourish. And so we're fortunate to have the community to really invest into our schools. Some of the challenges that we have noticed here in Little Rock just during this transition of pivoting from normal school instruction, it has been just changing the mindset, more so of the adults, of getting them to think outside the box and to re-look at or re-examine how we do professional development and how we provide instruction to students. More now than ever, we see that the lecturing format never did work, and it definitely does not work now. And so teachers have had a major challenge of having strong student engagement in the virtual learning. And so the way we provide support and the types of professional development has definitely shifted. It's almost like building the airplane in flight because we didn't realize what we didn't know until COVID hit and we had to pivot to remote learning. So a lot of things that we would have traditionally funded through our federal funds or state categorical funds, we've had to shift to focus on virtual learning, remote learning, professional development, and also investing more in training for parents, how to, on the instructional side and academic side of education. And then we've also had to make a shift, and this has been a major challenge for us, of how do we support our students with social and emotional learning, as well as the mental health part while they're in the virtual platform. One thing we had to make a shift in doing is allowing a teacher to just teach virtual. At first, we started having our teachers do both in-person and virtual learning, and that was a major challenge. And so now we're actually meeting to discuss what it would take or what it would look like to have a group of teachers to teach virtual, and then teachers to teach in the traditional setting. So we've seen those challenges on the instructional side as well as the personnel side. And I think those have been positive challenges because it has caused us to make some much needed changes in how we provide education to our students and how we support our personnel staff.
So I would say in Catawba County, we definitely have had some challenges moving innovation forward. I felt really good about it before COVID times. I felt like we were moving in an extremely positive direction. We had taken on a new graphic and goal in our district for movement to the modern classroom. And then all of a sudden, on the turn of a dime, the learning platform changed. People started to try to wrap their minds around what we hope to get to with teachers in 3 to 4 years. They had to wrap their minds around that in just a couple of weeks. And we asked them to try to do that. Well, you can imagine for most of the country, I'm sure it was the same of how that worked out. We had teachers who were ready and already there and were able to jump on board. And then we had those folks that were not there, had not started down that path yet. So I would say that the biggest shift for us was trying to slow that momentum down just a little bit to let folks get on board, buy in, and have some time to adjust. And that's how we're trying to look at that right now, giving them time to adjust. And we've given folks time as we've still tried to continue to move forward. We have a saying in our district, we cannot waste a good crisis instructionally. We cannot waste this time. And every time I talk about it, and I'm on my soapbox, I talk about when we get to June and maybe things are different via COVID or whatever, things are in better shape, we have to be different than we were before. I know we will be, but what I mean by that is we've taken advantage of what we've had to do. So now the regular K-12 classroom never looks like it did before COVID times. We've truly made that shift and provided the professional development, provided the support that teachers deserve to truly make that shift in the classroom. So along with that challenge, just creating a risk-taking environment right now has been a huge challenge. And I'll say to what Jeremy said and agree totally, our folks are scared. They go home to difficult things there, just like we all do. They're dealing with their own families, their own children trying to learn. They're dealing with the sickness itself in a lot of cases, and quarantines and all those kinds of things. So for me to ask them to come back in the school building and continue to create or try to be a part of that risk-taking environment, it's tough. It's adding another layer of stress, I believe. That is definitely a challenge for them. I was discussing with my superintendent today, that we feel like folks are beginning to become more comfortable in the environment. And like Jeremy, we've made some shifts to make sure in second semester, we do not have hardly any teachers left teaching remote and face-to-face at the same time, which we think is huge. So we have completely redone the master schedule going into second semester to have all virtual teachers and then all face-to-face teachers. So our goal second semester is to start that movement forward again towards the modern classroom and to begin more intense professional development to get people back in to that risk-taking environment that we hope that they will adjust to. We are lucky in Catawba County. We have a superintendent, Dr. Matt Stover, who talks constantly every Friday to all staff members. He comes on live and always reiterates that grace is the word in our district this year. Grace for students, grace for staff members, grace for each other. And he says it every week to try to take that stress off. We want folks to try hard and we want them to be risk takers, and they don't need to be afraid that we're coming behind them and judging, or when something doesn't work that we're gonna come down on that or impose something, which we never would. But folks are worried about that, and they're worried about testing this year. They're worried about accountability, all those things that truly stifle, I believe, creativity.
This is the perfect year to take risks, with everything going on. I mean, what a great year to teachers, you followed a scripted curriculum, a scripted program for the last however years you're teaching. Now with this thrown at you, the unpredictability, why not take risks? And that's what we're trying to have our teachers do. Take risks, take things that you've never done before and embed those technology resources, embed small group, embed live lessons, bring your live lessons into your kids that you're teaching face to face. So really try things. And yeah, you may have some stumbling blocks around the road, but you got to take risks. And what better way than to take risks in what we're going through right now? But it is challenging. We set up our schedule. We first thought of the teachers. We were like, we want a teacher just to have one focus. You're going to be face to face, or you're going to do virtual. We didn't want teachers doing both. So that was our first focus, is to make sure that teachers are as stress-free as possible. And, we're so small that we were able to contract out to a virtual program with our high school students with all the courses and certification and all that. So we contracted that out to another company. And again, our State Department did a good job of giving us money to do that. And then we used our own personnel for our K through 8 virtual program because we had enough students to sign up for each level. So it just worked out. And yeah, you're right. They're stressed out and they have a lot on their plates. And for our part, we're not pushing a lot of initiatives. We're just basically trying to be as supportive as possible. We're here to help each other out, working shoulder to shoulder to ease those tensions that you're feeling. I will say the only one positive I will come out of all this is it's making the teachers use the technology. It's making them use the learning management system. It's making them kind of step out of their comfort zone, because before all this, I may not have a lot of teachers doing Google Classroom and posting assignments and having virtual online chats. That may not have happened. There's only so much PD we can tell them. There's so many resources we can provide for them. They have to know how to use the system. And the only way they know how to use the system with technology is teachers have to do it in order for them to be successful.
My takeaways from our chat today are: 1, take advantage of this pandemic to help teachers make instructional shifts that are needed using technology as a tool. 2, you might have to change some policies in your district to allow for innovation to happen. And then 3, as leaders, we need to encourage innovation by being shoulder to shoulder with the educators we are working with to help show and support and model. Thank you for learning and growing with me, EDU Thompson.